Ever since I was a child, I have been terrified of dolls or animatronics coming to life and killing me in the night. I saw this game, and I bought it immediately. Apparently I'm a masochist. If you're into really scary games, I suggest you get this game. It's fun and scary. In my 20 plus years as a gamer, this is the first game that has ever made me scream out loud. Kudos to you, sir. This game tops any other horror game I have played. It is by far the best and is great for all people seeking a scary game. It builds suspense and anxiety, making you wonder where these robotic freaks are located, constantly keeping you checking your security cameras and your lights, because if you don't... What I just read were Steam reviews for Five Nights at Freddy's that were written in August of 2014. Only weeks after the game had originally launched. I'm sure at this point almost everyone is familiar with Five Nights at Freddy's. Even if you've never played any of the games or read any of the books, I'm sure most people have at the very least heard of it before. When this game had originally released, it had taken the entire internet by storm. Many YouTubers were playing this game at the time, such as Markiplier, Jacksepticeye, Yamimash, PewDiePie, Corey Kenshin. Everyone was doing videos on this game. Understandably so. To this day, I think the first Five Nights at Freddy's has all the right ingredients, creating the recipe for a true horror game. Let's start off with the game's menu. When you open the first game, you are immediately greeted with the sound of static and this main menu theme. While you see a creepy animatronic bear on the menu twitch a few times, as it twitches, you see a sneak peek of the endoskeleton inside of the bear as well. This already makes you feel a little uncomfortable. This animatronic teddy bear manages to look cute, yet creepy at the same time. When you click on a new game, you are shown a quick newspaper article about a restaurant looking for a security guard. It reads, "Help wanted, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Family pizzeria looking for security guard to work the night shift, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monitor cameras, ensure safety of equipment and animatronic characters. Not responsible for injury/dismemberment. $120 a week. To apply, call 188-FAZ-FAZBEAR. When reading this, you get the basic idea of who your character is supposed to be. You are a security guard for a restaurant called Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Sounds simple enough. You then get thrown straight into the first night at 12 a.m. The game is set up so that no matter when you start, you are in the experience the moment you start the game. Something Scott confirmed was intentional during his interview with Daco from 2018.
You know, everything is designed to where you see everything right away. You know, as soon as you jump in, you're in the experience, you know, and so it doesn't matter if it lasts for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, you know, you're in the middle of it right away.
Taking a look at the security office for the first time, it feels unsettling. The room is pretty dark, with only one light above you. In front of you, you can see a desk with some monitors, an empty soda cup, and tinfoil balls. This immediately lets the player know this pizzeria is very messy, that whoever was here before you did not clean up very well. There is also a desk fan on the desk, which adds to the noise you hear when in the office. And on one of the monitors is a weird-looking cupcake with a candle in it. The cupcake has eyes staring back at you and buck teeth. It looks very creepy, especially with how the eyes make it look like the cupcake is staring directly at you, as if the cupcake will jump off the desk at any moment and attack you. On the wall above the desk, you can see mini drawings that children made while at the pizzeria, giving you an idea of what this place is like during the day. Next to the drawings is a poster of the animatronics themselves. The newspaper that you read has already told you the bear in the center is named Freddy Fazbear, but next to Freddy is a blue rabbit holding a guitar and a chicken with a bib on that says, "Let's eat." Above the characters on the stage are the words "Celebrate," reinforcing the idea that despite how creepy these animatronics look, they are designed with the intention to look friendly. Most horror games around the time the first FNAF was made usually covered their monsters in layers of blood to make them look creepy. But this game, it just made some giant robot animals reminiscent of places like Chuck E. Cheese and Showbiz Pizza, and that was enough to do the trick. To make the animatronics look creepy, throughout the office are random wires and a whole bunch of cobwebs, showing how messy and unclean this place is. Lastly, there are 2 giant openings next to you with 2 buttons. One is labeled door and one is labeled light. You turn the light on the left side of the room and it gives you a better look at the restaurant. There's more exposed wires and papers everywhere with an empty soda cup. On your right, the hall you see has even more exposed wires, an empty shelf, and papers. Again, this lets you know that Freddy's is a place that is very dirty and not well taken care of. If you hit the door button, then a giant metal door will come down and seal anyone or anything from coming into the office. Before you even have time to process most of this, however, you hear a phone ring, and after a few more rings, you hear a voice of a man introducing himself.
Hello? Hello? I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact.
This is the guard who worked in the office before you did. He has experience with this company and is intending to pass his knowledge on to you.
First, there's an introductory greeting from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced.
Not responsible for damage to property or person? A missing person report will be filed within 90 days upon discovery?
Now that might sound bad, I know, but there's really nothing to worry about.
The man on the phone tries to reassure you immediately that you have nothing to worry about, despite what he just told you, but it makes the player wonder if there's nothing to worry about, then why did the company have him say all that?
The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night, but do I blame them? No.
The animatronics get quirky at night. What the heck does that mean?
So just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up if they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
Now, just telling us that the animatronics walk around at night is already very weird, but that by itself isn't too alarming, though it is odd. But then he goes further and says apparently back in the year 1987, one of the animatronics bit someone. That someone, while they survived, they also lost their frontal lobe, making you realize that not only will the animatronics here move around, but they are potentially dangerous, maybe even deadly. This alone is enough to make you feel nervous about working here, but then there's more. As if reading your mind, the man on the phone immediately confirms your fears, that the animatronics here are dangerous. They are deadly.
If they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with crossbeams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death. The only parts of you that would likely see the light of day again would be your eyeballs and teeth when they pop out the front of the mask.
Supposedly, they will think you are an endoskeleton without a costume, and they will want to stuff you inside a suit, which will kill you with your eyeballs and teeth popping out of the mask. This immediately fills the player's mind with the idea that they need to keep themselves safe. Luckily, there are 2 metal doors to protect you, right?
Remember to close the doors only if absolutely necessary. Gotta conserve power.
Gotta conserve power. It seems these doors will not be as helpful as you think. So you're now alone and only one thing is in your mind. The animatronics are coming for you. You flip open the cameras and look around the pizzeria. The ambiance in this game is very quiet, subtle even. When you open the cameras, the first area of the restaurant you see is the show stage, where you see Freddy standing with the other 2 animatronics from the poster. The camera closest to the show stage is the dining area, showing rows of tables and party hats, letting you know where the kids eat during the day and watch the animatronics. On the left of that is the backstage. This room is rather creepy. It's full of animatronic heads, and sitting on the table is a bare endoskeleton. If anything the man told you on the phone is true, the animatronics won't be too happy about that endoskeleton not having its own costume. Next, there's the restrooms. This part is rather dark, and probably for the best. Near the dining room, there is another area called Pirate Cove. All you see there is another stage, a closed curtain, and a sign that says, "Sorry, out of order." This immediately lets the player know there's actually a 4th animatronic here. However, when looking at the other cameras, you only see photos of the 3 on the stage, giving you no hints to what this 4th character even looks like, other than the obvious, it's a pirate animatronic. After that, there is the kitchen. The first thing you will notice about this camera is that it's blackened out. At the top of the screen, there is text that reads, "Camera disabled, audio only," which leaves the question of why? What caused that camera to be disabled? What is even in the kitchen? Then there's the hallways, 2 long halls leading to your office. First, there's the West Hall, which is full of even more drawings that little kids made. Next to it is the supply closet, which just has some cleaning supplies, nothing crazy. Then there's the West Hall corner, which, like your office, is full of trash, giving you even more the impression this place is very dirty. Further proven when you look at the East Hall and see exposed wires everywhere, and in the East Hall corner is more trash. Then you look back at the show stage, and this is usually the point in the night where things start happening. Before, there were 3 animatronics on the stage. There was Freddy, and standing next to him was a rabbit and a chicken. But now you're looking again and the rabbit is gone. This is where the cameras come in to provide a little bit of comfort for the player, as you can check to see where the rabbit went. Usually on the first night, you will find him in the dining room or the backstage. When he's in the backstage, you see him in the darkness staring directly at the camera as if he knows you're watching him. Another thing the player will usually notice is that the explanation you were given for these animatronics coming after you is that they think you're an endoskeleton without a suit, but the rabbit is standing right next to an actual naked endoskeleton, and he isn't doing anything about it. It's like he doesn't care. Sometimes, when you look at the backstage, the rabbit will have his face right in front of the camera, letting you know he knows you're watching, that he is coming for you. This is around the time the rabbit starts to make his way down the hallway and to your office. As the rabbit comes closer to you, footsteps begin to grow louder and louder. This is when you, the player, begin to realize how powerless you really are. You are trapped in this room, alone. You have nothing to defend yourself. The rabbit is coming towards you with murderous intent. As soon as it's at your door and you check the light, this is the sound you hear while seeing the rabbit. You have to quickly shut the door on his face, but the issue with that is now your power is depleting faster. The longer you let the door stay closed, the more power you lose. But you also can't just open the door, because if you do, then the rabbit will get inside. You are forced to wait for him to leave, so you can open the door back up and conserve power. Luckily, he does eventually leave. This is around the time the chicken starts to move as well. She usually goes to the dining room and the bathroom. Now, you have 2 animatronics to keep track of. While checking on the animatronics, you sometimes hear strange noises, like music playing. Other times, you hear singing. When you go onto the Pirate Cove camera, the singing gets louder, letting you know the animatronic in there, while he may be out of order, he is still functional. Eventually, you get to 6 AM, putting an end to your first ever shift. However, you must come back for the second night. On night 2, you are thrown into the same office as before, and you hear the phone ring again.
Hello? Hello? Well, if you're hearing this and you made it to day 2, congrats.
It's the same person as before.
I won't talk quite as long this time, since Freddy and his friends tend to become more active as the week progresses. It might be a good idea to peek at those cameras while I talk, just to make sure everyone's in their proper place, you know.
He says that the animatronics will become more aggressive as the week progresses, which gets the player to start thinking, yeah, the first night was pretty easy. Only 2 characters moved, and they were both pretty slow. This gets the player to start thinking the nights may not be too bad for now, but as you go on, it will only get worse.
Interestingly enough, Freddy himself doesn't come off stage very often. I've heard he becomes a lot more active in the dark, though, so hey, I guess that's one more reason not to run out of power, right?
The main character doesn't come off stage very often. This leaves the player to think, why is that? Is Freddy the Watcher? Is he sending out his minions to do his dirty work? After all, he is the main animatronic, but you are then told he becomes more active in the dark when you run out of power, giving you more reason to want to conserve as much of it as you can.
Also, check on the curtain in Pirate Cove from time to time. The character in there seems unique in that he becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time. I guess he doesn't like being watched. I don't know.
While the singing from the previous night hinted at it, you now have confirmation that yes, the animatronic in Pirate's Cove is still functional. Both the rabbit and the chicken are much quicker to start moving around on this night, sending you into a very quick state of panic. These 2 animatronics are roaming around the restaurant, making their way towards your office. They want to kill you. While yes, you can check the cameras to see where they are, that doesn't mean they will stay there for very long. You are trapped. These animatronics are making their way to your office to kill you, which means you have to be on alert constantly. You have to always make sure you know where the animatronics are. If they get to your door, you have to shut those doors immediately. Even if you simply wait too long to do that, the animatronics can jam your door, meaning you have no choice but to always be as quick as possible when trying to know where the animatronics are. You have to always be alert. You can't even for a second let your guard down, or else. Getting jump scared leads you to the game over screen, where you see a Freddy Fazbear costume with 2 pairs of human eyes popping out. And if you look closely, inside of Freddy's mouth are some human teeth as well. You have lost, and now the animatronics have killed you and stuffed your body into an empty Freddy Fazbear costume. However, thankfully, since this is a video game, you can try again. But again, in this game, there's no point where you can just stop and take a breath, sip on some water, or whatever. You have to always be alert. Always watch for the animatronics. You have to always be active, or you will die. While the animatronics are slow on the early nights, this can be both a good thing and a bad thing. Good, because since they are slow right now, the animatronics will take a while to get to you, But also bad because when they get to your door, since they aren't moving a whole lot, the animatronics will take a long time to leave once you shut the door on their face. This will cause the power to slowly drain, while on the later nights, the animatronics leave your door pretty quickly, which makes it easier to conserve power. When you get to the third night, the man on the phone sends you another message.
Hello, hey, you're doing great. Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant.
Most people don't last this long? He tries to reassure the reason for this is simply because the other guards quit and got different jobs, but with how aggressive these animatronics have become night after night, you can't know for sure if what he's saying is true. If the previous guards really did leave on their own terms, or maybe something darker happened. You aren't given much of a chance to think about this for too long, however, as again, this night is similar to the previous night. But the animatronics are even more aggressive. You constantly have to check on the rabbit and the chicken, while also looking at the cameras to make sure the animatronic in Pirate's Cove doesn't move. When he does move, he likes to slowly peek out of the curtains and gradually make his way toward you. Once he's outside, ready to leave, you realize the character is a fox with an eye patch and hook. However, with the other animatronics, you usually just see them on one camera. Then they move to another one, but the fox appears to have multiple stages on this camera alone, which makes you, the player, wonder what happens when he leaves Pirate's Cove. The anticipation is high, but at some point the fox does leave Pirate's Cove. You see the camera is empty, and you wonder where the fox is. Perhaps the dining area. You look in there, and no. Is he backstage? No again. What about the hallways? You have to be quick, because the fox will run down the hallway, and if you don't shut the door in time, you're dead. This adds on even more to the idea that in this game, you can never relax. You always have to be quick to defend yourself from these animatronics, because if you just take a break for even a second, they will get you. You also can't just let the fox run to the door too many times. When the fox does get to the door, he knocks, and when he knocks, he will also rob some of your power. You can't let the fox knock too many times if you want to conserve power. You have to be on top of everything at all times. If you do lose power in this game, the building will go dark. Then after a little bit, Freddy will come to your door and start playing a tune. This is the Toreador March. It's meant to be a happy tune that plays while the pizzeria is open to entertain customers. But in this situation, Freddy is playing the Toreador March to count down to your demise, letting you know your time is numbered. After playing his tune, the room will go dark and... But if you manage to beat all 3 nights, you then get to night 4, where the previous security guard leaves you his final message.
Oh, hello, hey, wow, day 4, I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you. When I did, hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm gonna try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. Yeah, I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
He didn't make it. All those messages you were listening to that were from the previous security guard, he had already died at the hands of those animatronics before you even started working here. Now, things are getting really scary. You have now heard the animatronics take a life. This is when you know for sure that you are truly in danger working here. So like the other nights, you watch the animatronics at all times, you constantly stay alert. It's the same old until you suddenly hear... This is new. This is not something you have heard before while playing this game. So you check the cameras to find out Freddy has left the stage. This is the main one. This is Freddy Fazbear himself. Now even he is moving. However, with the rabbit and chicken, you know what to expect. They will come to your door and you have to shut it on them. With the fox, you have to constantly look at the cameras to prevent him from moving. But Freddy, the game has never said what to do for Freddy. The man who left the messages never told you either. How do you prevent him from moving too often? What rooms does Freddy like to move to when he gets to your door? Do you have to wait for him to show up in the blind spots, or do you immediately close the door? When you find Freddy, he is in the dining room. However, he's so far away, basically hiding. All you can see are his eyes. When it comes to Freddy, the game pretty much just leaves you in the dark. You have to figure out what to do about him. While of course also dealing with the other 3 animatronics, and you have to make sure you deal with Freddy fast or you're dead. This adds a whole new layer of stress, since now, while you're doing your normal strategies to deal with the other animatronics, you have to figure out Freddy Fazbear himself, and you have no verification if anything you're doing is even correct or not. You just have to find something that works and hope you don't get killed. On the 5th night, you get another message. You think of the message from the night before. Didn't the previous guard die? How is he calling? Maybe he did survive after all. But when the message plays, this is all you hear. Any bits of comfort you may have had playing this game are now lost. You do the same strategy as the previous nights, but now the animatronics are the most aggressive they have ever been. You again have to be quick. Your reaction time has to quite literally be perfect. Most importantly, no breaks unless you have a death wish. Since on the later nights you use a lot of power, it gets to a point where once you are at 5 AM and almost out of power, the best option is usually once you're down at 3% power, you should stop everything you're doing and just sit down and wait. Don't think of this as a breather. Every second now that you are sitting here and waiting for the power to drain, you are gambling with your life. Since you aren't checking the cameras, the fox can run down the hall and into your office at any moment. But if you want to survive the night, gambling is your only option. When the power reaches 0 and the building goes dark, you are still at risk of dying. Because now, Freddy is playing his Toreador March, getting ready to kill you. When he's done, all you hear are Freddy's footsteps. Now, Freddy will either kill you, or, if you are lucky, the clock will turn to 6 AM, which now means you get your paycheck and you can finally take a breath, relax. After everything the game had put you through, Five Nights at Freddy's is an experience where you see friendly mascot characters come to life with murderous intent, and they are constantly on the move, always after you, always trying to kill you. And you just have to wait out the time, hope what you're doing will help you survive. You are never truly safe until that clock hits 6 AM. This is why I love the first Five Nights at Freddy's as a horror game. You always feel trapped, defenseless. You just have to find a strategy and stick with it for long enough that you can survive the night. However, this is just scratching the surface of the game. Five Nights at Freddy's is a game littered with Easter eggs. Here's a creepy death screen that you can sometimes get in this game. When playing, you will randomly get hallucinations of Freddy and Bonnie while the phrase "It's me" pops up out of nowhere. "It's me" is a phrase seen everywhere throughout the restaurant. Sometimes this poster of Freddy will show him ripping off his own head. Sometimes when looking at the backstage camera, all the spare heads and even the endoskeleton will stare right into the camera. Sometimes these posters on the wall will change to pictures of kids, crying kids. Very rarely, a mysterious 5th animatronic will appear. He is a yellow version of Freddy Fazbear who just slumps in the corner of your office, and if he kills you, then instead of a game over, your game simply crashes. Lastly, newspaper clippings will appear randomly sometimes, telling you the backstory of the restaurant. Now, something that I want to make clear is that this is not meant to be a video about the lore. However, I do think when it comes to this in particular, I should talk about it. Here's what each of the FNAF 1 newspaper articles tell us. Kids vanish at local pizzeria, bodies not found. 2 local children were reportedly lured into a back room during the late hours of operation at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza on the night of June 26. While video surveillance identified the man responsible and led to his capture the following morning, the children themselves were never found and are presumed dead. Police think that the suspect dressed as a company mascot to earn the children's trust. 5 children now reported missing, suspect convicted. 5 children are now linked to the incident at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, where a man dressed as a cartoon mascot lured them into a back room. While the suspect has been charged, the bodies themselves were never found. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been fighting an uphill battle ever since to convince families to return to the pizzeria. It's a tragedy. Missing kids. When the player finds this and reads it for the first time, questions really start to rise. I think most people's first assumption would be that the animatronics were the ones who killed the kids, but then the papers specified that they found a suspect and even arrested him. So that leaves the question, who was that suspect? Who is the man who killed those kids, and why did he do it? The player may also start to wonder, does this connect to why the animatronics are alive somehow? Local pizzeria threatened with shutdown over sanitation. Local pizzeria Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has been threatened again with shutdown by the health department over reports of foul odor coming from the much-loved animal mascots. Police were contacted when parents reportedly noticed what appeared to be blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths of the mascots. One parent likened them to reanimated carcasses. You just read about missing kids, and now you're reading about blood and mucus around the eyes and mouths of all the animatronics. But how does that happen? Combine this with the fact that all the kids' bodies were explicitly stated to have never been found. This is when most people start to realize what happened. After the kids were lured away and killed, their bodies were stuffed inside of the animatronics, explaining why they come to life. This is made out to be even more obvious when you start to notice the sounds Bonnie and Chica make before killing you. It sounds like a child clinging on to their last grasp of life. But this still doesn't answer a few things, like who is the killer? Why are the animatronics aggressive? How are the kids controlling the animatronics? Is it possession? Finally, there's the last newspaper. Local pizzeria said to close by year's end. After a long struggle to stay in business after the tragedy that took place there many years ago, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has announced that it will close by year's end. Despite a year-long search for a buyer, companies seem unwilling to be associated with the company. These characters will live on in the hearts of kids. These characters will live on. CEO. Five Nights at Freddy's not only excelled in being a terrifying game, but even the hints of backstory it had left in made the thought of what was really going on at Freddy Fazbear's even worse to think about. I like how the first game tried to leave things open-ended. This game had all the right elements for a proper horror game, and to this day, I still love playing it.